Greetings from Brunei Darussalam. This is a presentation from Haja Siti Afsa Haji Duraman from Jeffrey Bolkiah College of Engineering at the Ministry of Education and Dr. Masita Shahril from Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah Institute of Education at the University of Brunei Darussalam. This study investigated the effectiveness of small group discussions through the snowballing effect technique in one of the vocational and technical institutions in Brunei Darussalam. Small group discussion method was chosen for this study as it would be easier to control, assist, and facilitate a big group of students. The snowball effect technique was introduced during the small group discussions, where first students work in pairs and then slowly form a bigger group of 4, usually up to a group of 8. It was then followed by a whole class discussion so that students can share what they have gained through the discussions in the smaller group earlier to fill in any gaps, if any. Through the snowballing practice, the bigger the groups form, the more information the students would gain during their discussions. The aims of this research study were to enable teachers to better utilize their time by allowing the students to work collaboratively through small group discussions and simultaneously to encourage the students to assist one another. The objective of this study was to investigate the effectiveness of small group discussions being used on a daily basis in a vocational and technical mathematics lessons. The research questions investigated in this study are as follows. Firstly, how effective is the snowballing effect technique used in a vocational and technical mathematics lesson? And the second research question is, what are the factors that are needed to have an effective snowballing effect technique in a mathematics lesson? Collaborative learning happens in a small group setting where students share ideas and work together. Collaborative learning diverges from traditional methods that are based on personal performance and competition. Maverick in 1985 stated that previous studies have shown that underachieving students are better able to understand their peers' explanation than they're able to grasp from the teacher or the book. Similarly, Jacques and colleagues in 1998 claimed that students with slight learning disabilities were more accepted by their peers when collaborative learning was used. Teachers have the responsibility to provide opportunities for learners to share their thinking and problem-solving processes, justify and formulate conjectures publicly, and evaluate multiple solution strategies. As referred by Touche and Howard, errors can be detrimental to learning when they are not responded effectively. Teachers can use errors that become apparent during classroom discussion as instructional leverage to make explicit the key concept and tools of inquiry needed to understand and apply a mathematical principle. Properly responding to errors provides critical entry points for teachers to facilitate learning for all students. According to Webb in 1991, students like working with a partner and will turn to him or her for advice before asking a teacher. This in turn makes it easier for the teacher to give one-to-one help to those who needed it and lighten the demand for teachers' attention. In addition, group members encourage others to succeed because they need the rest of the group to do well individually in order to achieve certain goals. The study employed a mixed method research approach using both qualitative and quantitative data collection and analysis. The sample was taken from the Travel and Tourism Services diploma students from one of the vocational and technical institutions in Brunei Darussalam. A group of 18 students having at least a pass in their previous secondary school examination was selected to participate in the study. The data for this study was collected through a series of tests, students' interviews, class observations, and by collecting students' artifacts. Students' interview was done in 2 ways. First, by individual students' interviews, and then by focus group interview. The figure presented here refers to the framework of this study. The chosen class has a 0.5 unit value for their mathematics subjects. Hence, the mathematics topic taught were mostly basic mathematics, and most importantly, topics that were closely connected to the course that they enrolled in. The mathematics topic taught in their course were generally just repetitive topics of what they have done in their secondary level. No new topics were taught in their diploma level. Here, we present the findings from the pre- and post-test. From the results of the pre-test on the topic of measure of central tendency, it was found that the average mark for the students was 50.9%. The post-test was given after several lessons were conducted, and the results showed that the students' performance had improved. The mean for their post-test was 89.7%. Students' mean score increased by almost 40% for the topic measure of central tendency. For the second topic on sets, a pretest was given before the lesson, and the result here indicated that the students' prior knowledge on sets was quite under par. The overall average pretest mark was 49.6%, and 8 of the students scored lower than 50%. Similarly, the post-test was conducted after several lessons. The results showed slight improvement from their pre-test to their post-test, and the students' marks ranged from 43% to 100%. A standardized short test was given to the students, designed by the institutions after the end of each topic taught. The purpose of the standardized short test was to further validate students' content knowledge on each of the respective topic. The results indicated that the students' mean score for the topic measure of central tendency was higher than the mean score on the topic sets. The interviews were done several weeks after the lessons for both topics were conducted. From the interviews, it was found that 4 out of 6 students interviewed preferred to have the small group discussions. One of the students mentioned that he understood the way to find a median of a given data better through the discussion. He was not afraid to ask his partner to explain. He also stated that he was a slow learner and he had to ask his partner to explain the method used more than twice. This entailed that having the right partner for an effective discussion is vital. Another student pointed out the importance of teamwork and in knowing their responsibility in the small group discussions. She brought up the importance in ensuring that all the teammates understood and were able to explain the methods. Having all the team members explain various methods also made them think conceptually. By doing so, they can come up with the shortest and easiest way to solve a given problem. So how effective is the snowballing effect technique used in a vocational and technical mathematics lesson? Referring to the results of the test given to the students for the 2 topics, we saw improvement in the students' performance. Better improvement was observed in the first topic, which was the measure of central tendency. In addition, this was validated by the standardized short test given by the institution. Students' test score on the standardized short test further proved the effectiveness of the small group discussions as it showed that the students understood the concept that were taught and discussed with their team members. For the second research question regarding the factors that affected the effectiveness of a small group discussion in a mathematics lesson, there are 3 main points that can be highlighted from the study. Firstly, the factor that affects the effectiveness of a small group discussion is the students' attachment and attentiveness in the discussions. It is important that students are given equal opportunity to speak up. The second factor that could be found significant in this study is the students' sense of responsibility towards their own group members. They have to make sure that everyone in their group understands what is being discussed and know how to re-explain if asked for the purpose of the whole class discussion. And thirdly, the factor that affects the effectiveness of this technique is the teacher's involvement in the discussion. Teachers should avoid the habit of spoon-feeding the students with answers. Students should be given the freedom to discover for themselves with the help of their teammates. In conclusion to our study, the results from the pre- and post-test had shown that snowballing effect technique had shown improvements in students' performances regardless of their low ability in the subject of mathematics. However, the standardized short test scores showed that the students' performance improved better on the topic measure of central tendency if compared to their mean scores on the topic sets. This further concludes that it may have made improvements on the students' performances. Unfortunately, it does not seem to give the best results all the time. More importantly, students enjoyed their mathematics lesson better as they were more engaged in the mathematical discussions. And also, students were also found to be more daring in asking questions. They were not afraid to speak up even if their answers were wrong. The best way to teach any mathematics topics typically depends on the content and students' level of mathematical capabilities. Hence, instructors need to have their own initiatives to broaden and maximize their lesson strategies to stimulate students' conceptualized thinking and collaborative skills simultaneously. For this research study, the students understood and performed better in their test assessments through collaborative learning in small group discussion. Snowballing effect technique stimulates and challenges their thinking ability. At the same time, it also improves their communication skills as they were needed to explain their work to their teammates. Based on the findings and conclusions of this study, we strongly recommend further research to be done on collaborative learning on small group discussions through a snowball effect to a bigger group sample. Furthermore, as far as is known, no research has been done in the vocational and technical education context in Brunei Darussalam. There are a shortage of relevant mathematics instructors in the vocational and technical institutions, and the numbers of students accepted into the institutions are increasing rapidly. The ratio of students to each teacher will also increase, and thus the amount of time needed to focus on each student may decrease. Snowballing effect is a learning technique that can be done in a bigger group. Hence, there are more opportunities for future researchers to conduct researches at the higher level, for example, at the college or at the university levels. These are just some of the references used for this presentation. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions or comments regarding this study, please email them to us.